How's it going, YouTube? Quattros123 here, and today we are doing some card discussions. Now, this is going to be Magic the Gathering card discussions. Um, we're going to be talking about two different planeswalkers. They are some of my favorite planeswalkers out there, and they are two planeswalkers that do not see play. They are good in certain decks, but for the most part, nobody really uses them. So the first one we are going to be talking about is Gideon, Champion of Justice. Now this card is it's like a $5 card. Nobody uses it. When it first came out, some people were like, "Oh my god, this card is awesome," but most people were like, "This card's crap." And for the most part, in most decks, he is really not that great. He is pretty garbage in most decks. But the deck that I use them in is blue, white, Azorius Control. Now, basically, it's just the Azorius deck with a good amount of detain cards, so you're detaining your opponent's creatures and stuff. And that's what I find like that you need with Gideon. It's like because you don't want to destroy their cards because then you're not going to have stuff to really go off of. But like with Gideon, Champion of Justice, you can you plus his first ability is to plus, and you get loyalty counters equal to the number of creatures your opponent controls. His minus zero ability is just zero ability. It makes him into a creature with power toughness equal to the number of loyalty counters on him, and he has prevents the damage dealt to him. And his last one is minus 15, which exiles all other permanents, which I'm not a big fan of that. I have never used it. For me, Gideon, Champion of Justice, you use him to beef him up and then make him into a creature that you can just smash face with. That is what you use with Gideon. Um, so what you're doing, of course, is you're detaining your opponent's creatures and saying those can't attack. Now I'm going to make him bigger. Now I don't have to worry about you attacking him. Now on my turn, I can maybe detain more of your creatures, and maybe he's an 8/8. I swing it for 8 damage. And then, next turn, if you still have some detaining cards, or, you have like Supreme Verdict, which I love doing, it's just Supreme Verdict, turn him into a creature, swing it for some more damage. Your opponent then maybe plays one creature on their turn, you detain that one creature, and then swing in for another. And, Gideon can be an awesome creature, an awesome planeswalker in the right deck, and I do believe that blue white Azorius Control is definitely where you want to put your Gideon Champions. Justice. Of course, he is 2 and white white for a 4, or sorry, a 4 loyalty, which again, it'd be like if you just play him off the bat, um, like turn 1, if your opponent has like 1 or 2 creatures on board, and turn 4, he turns into a 6/6. If you can protect him, next turn, he can turn into a 6/6 creature and smash face with it, and then you can get rid of some of your opponent's creatures. So I think Gideon Champion of Justice is just a all around sweet card, but only in the right deck. Second to him, though, this Planeswalker is by far, other than maybe Jace, this is my favorite Planeswalker, and does not see play, which is why I am, it's one of the things that I'm kind of happy about. It was really easy for me to obtain this card, and that is Venser the Sojourner, which is a card that says I'm going to remove a card from the game. It comes back. So basically, what he is 3 white blue for a loyalty of 3. Um, you +2 him. You exile target permanent you control or you own, and then return it onto the battlefield at the end of the turn. Now, what this does is you want to use this for your detain cards, like your Azorius Justicar, I think it is. Justicar. I don't know. It's really hard to pronounce this thing. But what it is that creature is like a 4 for 2/2 that detains 2 creatures. So what you could do is you play it, detain 2 creatures, or 2 permanents rather, non-land permanents, and then you use your Gideon to +2 himself, remove your Justicar from the game. It comes back at the end of the turn, and you get to detain 2 more cards. So I mean, like this with Venser on the board, you can start detaining stuff and like just limiting your opponent so much. His -1 ability creatures are unable to block this turn. You don't really use that in this deck, so to speak, because you're going to be detaining so much. And for Azorius Blue Eye Control, you're using really small creatures. So, I mean, it can work, but I'd rather be detaining my opponent's creatures. There are other instances where you wouldn't really need to worry about that. Um, but I mean, the -1 ability is still a very good ability. They're unblockable. You just swing in for a good amount of damage. If you have something that says, like your Lavinia the 10th, you play that, detain all your opponent's creatures. It's like, okay, well, I am now going to say, um, all my creatures are unblockable because you can't attack next turn, so I swing in for a bunch of damage, right? So, pretty awesome. And then, of course, Venser's final ability, which, I mean, if you were activating his +2 ability, to keep detaining your opponent's creatures, this -8 is going to be so easy to get to. And that is, you get an emblem with whenever you play a spell, or cast a spell, sorry, exile target permanent. So, like, this even works with your detain cards. You're playing your detain cards and saying, well, I play this, detain that, exile that. So you can start, say, I'm going to be detaining your creatures, and I'm going to be exiling your lands. So, um, Venser, I think, if you want to play blue-white control, Venser is definitely the planeswalker you want, especially with Detain, being able to bring them back, because it says you have your Detain cards, you will always say, unless it's like the ones that attack, but when this card enters the battlefield, Detain, and Venser brings them back and enters the battlefield once again. So awesome combos. One combo that I really love doing with the Venser is you have your Venser out, and you remove your Lavinia from the 10th. And what Lavinia the 10th does is, once she gets played, um, all creatures that cost 4 or lower, or all permanents rather, sorry, that cost 4 or lower, are detained. So you play her, detain everything they control for the most part, and then, I mean, you can minus its ability to attack altogether, and they can't block it. And then next turn, because now, you can't really do much, but then you can just plus your Venser here and remove Lavinia from the 10th, end of your turn, bring her back, detain everything. So then you never really have to worry about your opponent attacking you ever again if they do not have burn spells or, destruction spells that can target planeswalkers. Um, then they're pretty much hooped for the rest of the game until you can start getting your draws for your Supreme Verdict and stuff like that. So Spencer, awesome card. These are my two of my favorite planeswalkers and one of my favorite decks. If you guys are playing blue-white control, I would definitely try considering them, try playtesting them. But other than that, I think those are the only decks that can, or this, that Zoria's blue-white control is like the only decks that I think that they are really good in. But that is it for the card discussion today. Those are the two planeswalkers that I've been wanting to really talk about for the longest time. Um, And yeah, so we'll just end it here. This is Grouchos123. Till next time, guys. Signing out.